Hi, folks. This is Anthony. Welcome back to my show. Now, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, simply entertainment. But entertainment that I hope inspires you to invest in the stock market, hopefully for the long term in a broad based mutual fund. And the reason that I want people to do this isn't because I'm selling anything on here. My channel's no longer monetized. But I look at the riots, and I've thought this all along. If you are engaged in the stock market, if you're engaged in the economy and society, then you're working for a better world. You're not burning down things and fighting with police officers or National Guardsmen. Anyway, have you ever wondered how much it would take to get to $1 million? Now, this is from NerdWallet. There's a lot of different calculators out there, and even within a website, there's a lot of different ones. This is their compound interest calculator, so you can do this for compound interest, which is called the eighth wonder of the world. Anyway, here's slightly over $1 million there. Now let's consider somebody who is 18 years old, male or female. They're maybe just out of high school, maybe they're still in high school, and this could be a little earlier, but they have some income. If they don't have a W-2, which a lot of people at that age have W-2 income, but even if they were out mowing lawns, if they declared that income, they could invest in a Roth IRA. Now, do your own research on Roth IRAs. I will have a link to an IRS publication that talks about them. It's pretty good, but still not perfect. Very few documents from the government are ever completely accurate or easy to understand, and I read a lot of various different kinds of government documents. Okay, so let's get back to this. And remember, a Roth IRA is after-tax money, so you've already paid taxes that are due, and it grows tax-free forever, as long as you keep it in until you're 59 and a half and for at least 5 years. Okay, so actually, to get to $1 million, it takes slightly under $2 a day of saving. Okay, so our initial deposit is $2 here. 50 years is the maximum that NerdWallet will allow you, but that's good enough. If you're 18, you wait 50 years, that's 68. That's about retirement age, probably in 50 years. We're going to estimate the rate of return, and I've done other videos. This is an accurate number for a long-term broad-based mutual fund that mirrors the stock market like the S&P 500. And I recommend people investigating the various S&P 500 funds out there. I use VOOG. That's a growth S&P 500. There's also SPY, which is just the regular S&P 500. Anyway, this monthly, daily, annually, it doesn't really matter. That's just how it's calculated. And then this contribution amount, we have $58 here. That's slightly under $2 a day for a month. And so we have the monthly tab that we'll click, or that we've clicked on here. Or you could put, $2 a day times 365 and do the annual. Anyway, very easy to manipulate these numbers to see, if you were going to do $3 or $5 a day. I've done some videos on how much the true cost of like a Dutch Bros or a Starbucks $5 cup of coffee is costing you by not investing. These days, you can have money taken out of your bank account every day and put into the brokerage account if that's how you want to do it, or do it weekly. But the point is, the earlier you invest, and again, this is investing in a broad-based mutual fund or ETF, exchange traded fund. You could make more or less money just putting it all in NVIDIA or Microsoft, but the risk that you run is whatever company you pick could go bankrupt. Funds that, or companies that are in these funds, if they start stumbling, if they're no longer in the top 500, they're replaced by a healthier company. So it's not actively managed, but it is recalibrated when it needs to be. So lastly, Here's the government website. I'll have a link to that. Check that out. You can read other resources that people have put together that are probably easier to understand. Just make sure that whatever you're reading really is legitimate. The one thing that isn't talked about here that I saw, the one exception to putting certain instruments into a Roth IRA is publicly traded limited partnerships. And those are traded on the stock market just like stocks, but they're not taxed because they're a partnership. And so it's expected that the partners, you, if you buy in, will be the one paying the tax. But if it's in a Roth IRA, no one's paying a tax on it. So the government says that if you have more than $1,000 a year in income, in dividends from that limited partnership, then you do have to pay tax on it. So if it's under $1,000 a year, and again, I'm not, professional, but this is my understanding, and I think it's accurate. You don't have to pay tax on it. Now, there are lists, and this looks like a pretty good list. This is called World of Dividends, or simplysafedividends.com. I'll also have a link. This has a list of those limited partnerships, and some people get seduced by the yield because the yield could be pretty high on some of these. And just because it's that high doesn't mean that that's going to be continuing, especially with Icon Enterprises. But they have dividend safety, and as you can see, a lot of them listed here are unsafe, very unsafe. So don't think that you could find something and get 12.44% and have it grow forever in a Roth IRA. Okay, if you were to make more than $1,000 in these in a Roth IRA, you'd likely have to pay a special tax that doesn't apply to anything else in a Roth IRA. That shows the first 10. Here's the next 10. If it doesn't have anything on it, I don't know if it's, why they didn't put anything there. Here's a few borderline safe. Here's one that's marked safe. And then the last page, Brookfield, which is an old company. It's marked safe, but again, you're only making 5.22%, which, can be good. But just be very cautious. If you were to decide to put money into limited partnerships, you might have to pay taxes that you wouldn't have to pay on other type of dividend producing stocks. So I'm going to end there. One last thing I want to say is the image that I use is AI generated. It's not really Donald Duck, even though it kind of looks like a Disney character. So Disney, don't sue me. Go after Google. They're the ones who came up with that based on my prompt. So thank you very much. Please do check out my other videos, and I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your questions and comments. I respond to them eventually. And hit subscribe if you haven't already, and hopefully you'll hit like. Thank you so much.